Hello and welcome back to Field Notes Podcast. I'm your host Eden and thank you for tuning in today. Today we will be talking about a very pertinent topic, something very timely, something very appropriate to the season. If you live in the United States or if you celebrate Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, or any holiday during this time of year, and that is surviving the holidays as a highly sensitive person. Now, I got some takes for you today, some takes that actually help you, because as a self-identified highly sensitive person, as a self-identified introvert, your girl knows. Your girl gets it. Your girl has been there. We have been in the arena with it. And we've come out the other side to a large extent. So I'm going to share with you kind of also the big shifts for me that have transformed my relationship to the holidays. So before we get into all of our content, why do some people need to have a conversation around the holidays being so challenging and other people don't? There's a lot of reasons. Our personal relationship to our family, whether we had a lot of challenges in our family, whether we have trauma in our past. In this conversation, I'm not so much talking about if you have an abusive family or, you should not be spending time with your family at the holidays. We're not talking about that. I'm really just talking about your garden variety family drama / holiday discomfort. We're really talking about relationships. Unless for you it really is just the travel that you hate, that's a separate episode. But really what makes the holidays challenging is relationships, because what do we do during the holidays? We get together with a bunch of people and the emotions are high and the energy in the room is high and there's a lot of expectations, and we're back with family, which can make us feel like we are 5 years old again. I do have a past episode where I talk more about sort of the developmental lens on why it's so triggering to go back into your nuclear or the family you grew up in, into that setting. And I will link that in the description. And then you add travel on top of that. You add all the things that upset the system that are uncomfortable on top of that. And before you know it, we have all the makings for a full regression. But I'm really in this episode just talking about your garden variety family drama. So keep that in mind. What makes it so much harder for some people than others to navigate these larger than life events? Number one, if you're an introvert. I know we talk about it, but we don't talk about it enough. If you are an introvert and you are going to be around a lot of people over the holidays, that's going to be harder for you than an extrovert, for example. It just is. You're just not wired for a lot of external stimulation, and it is going to take it out of you. Furthermore, if you are a highly sensitive person, there's going to be some pain. It turns out there is a certain percentage of the population, if you're not familiar with what a highly sensitive person is, there's a certain percentage of the population that just is more sensitive than the vast majority. And I believe it's actually not linked to introversion or extroversion. So it is a personality quality that makes you more sensitive. So the holidays are also going to be just harder for my HSP girlies out there and men out there. It just is, because you feel it more sharply. It feels more intense. And usually, we can control in our lives to a certain extent, kind of the sensory input and what we have on our plate and what we have to do in a day and the interactions we're going to have. But when we are over the holidays and we're going to so many different events and get-togethers and traveling, we kind of have to push through a little bit more, depending on your circumstances. And it can be extra challenging. Okay, now let's get into what we can do about it. So first I wanted to give you a Jungian perspective, Jungian analytical psychology founded by Carl Jung, which gives us all the amazing concepts we love, like the shadow and the unconscious and archetypes and all of these things. You know, we love to talk about triggers, but I just wanted to give you a little Jungian lens. And so Jungian psychology offers us this idea of a complex. And a complex, I think of in my brain, I think of it like a neural network. And you can also think of it like the moments when you get triggered AF, basically, and an animal takes over your brain suddenly, and you are in a totally different headspace. You are in a different nervous system, and your brain has literally lit up a specific constellation in response to something that reminds you or symbolizes or is associated with this particular complex. So it sounds familiar, right? Trauma lens, German new medicine lens, so many lenses we can use, but let's take this complex lens. So you may have a father complex. And so every time you get around your father, that certain constellation lights up and it puts you into this part of yourself where you truly can't access the normal centered version of you. Like, this is like the moment when even like you can think about it like the days when you have that bad day, like there's a trigger that happens with someone in your life, family or not, and it like sends your body into that full-blown activation or that sympathetic nervous system. And for the duration that that's happening, you're like, you feel triggered, you feel anxious, you feel afraid, maybe you feel angry, you feel depressed, you feel hopeless. Whatever the emotion is, it's overtaking. It's overtaking to the point where you lost sight that you are like a grown person with like a full life and you're actually really happy and stable and have a lot going for you. You completely lose touch with that when the complex takes over you. The complex is also very confusing because when you're in it, because of the heightened, sympathetic nervous system activity or heightened emotional charge, you can't see the forest for the trees. It's almost like blurred vision. And so the problem feels unsolvable. It feels unsolvable and it feels like a puzzle you can never solve. And the reason why it feels like that is because you're in the complex. And, the thing about a complex in Jungian psychology is it takes a lot to work through them because they're very layered and they have a lot of what I would describe as like emotional weight behind them. There's a lot of history behind them. And to some degree, they even inform our personality and who we are in the world today, even as a grown person. So there's a lot there to work with. But when we can understand that when we go back into a situation or an environment that we have prior associations with, we are most likely going to become complexed to some degree. Whether it's big or small, whether you've done a lot of work on this particular complex or not, that's a separate thing. But recognizing that you are going to become complex and it's not your fault. It's literally the result of your biology and your nervous system. There's very little you can do now. Like going home for the holidays, it's going to be how it's going to be at this point. So I'm not saying you can't change it before you go home, but I'm saying we have these complexes when it comes to our family, when it comes to our high school friends, when it comes to our neighborhood that we grew up in, and to expect to go back into that environment and not have that complex activated is unrealistic. Secondly, on this point, it's really important to understand that a complex has to do with context. It has to do with the context that you're in. So one of the things we can do to help us not go back into the depths of despair when we are doing holiday things that might feel hard is to change the context around the situation. Meaning, let's say every year you're really caught off guard by the holiday party for your husband's job you have to go to, and it really stresses you out, and you do this whole song and dance about it. And it's like, instead of doing that, can you foresee the event, foresee that it's coming, figure out what feels disempowering to you about it, or figure out what makes you feel unprepared, and what can you do to prepare? Can you spend more time on getting your outfit together so that you feel really confident and like yourself in that environment? Or can you literally, maybe you feel insecure when you're there because you don't feel, professionally like you measure up to these people or something. Like, can you write out and affirm and remind yourself of all the, value you bring to people's lives professionally and personally and otherwise? Like, what can you do to get out ahead of the triggers? Maybe you're going home, but get the Airbnb and do something so that you're not just on the unconscious track to do what you always do and then have that implosion. Or maybe it's like having a time limit of when you're going to leave a certain dinner so that you're not going to let yourself kind of get to that tank on empty place when then like you really bottom out and it takes you all these days to recover. So think about how you can simply be empowered in the situation. And the essential thing that this is going to require is foresight and confronting consciously the stressful situation and imagining it and accepting that you're going to be facing something that feels a little bit challenging, and then readying yourself for it instead of just unconsciously driving into it. You have to either, come to terms. Are you going or are you not? If you're going, get in the driver's seat, find some agency, and figure out what you can do to make this situation even just a little bit more empowering. Okay, now I just want to tell you about some of the shifts, some of the perspectives that have transformed my experience of this type of thing. Number one, no one can regulate your nervous system except for you. There's an unfortunate truth in this. There's an unfortunate truth. There's an unfortunate mirror being held up when we go into situations. Forget the holidays, but the holidays are really just an amplification. The holidays are really just a cesspool of this type of challenging experience, but the facts remain the same. Lovingly, respectfully, you have to get better at regulating your nervous system. If you are not in control of your system, and I mean, yeah, it's okay if you're triggered, it's not perfect. You do not have to be perfect at this. But as an adult, we need to recognize that if you are not in command of your emotions and your nervous system, and you are not able to contain your emotions, you are not in charge. You are not in charge of yourself. If you are feeling triggered to the point of losing your mind, like I said, A, you need to reassess the situation. Or should you even be here? And or B, do we need to get a hold of ourselves? Meaning, when you go home, do you need to work it out with your therapist a bit more? Which is fine. But the thing is that as we become adults, which seems to be happening later and later in the United States of America, we need to realize that our parents, our coworkers, our bosses, our neighbors, our whoever is not responsible for making us feel whole. Sadly, no one can do it for you. So figure out how to do it. And if you're getting extremely triggered, especially as a highly sensitive person, especially as an introvert, like I said, I'm not saying you don't need to have clear boundaries and you need to have routines, you need to have systems in place, you need to have real structural supports that you can feel empowered in these situations, but you also need to be working through your curriculum as it pertains to what triggers you. And this is also a good thing, because what this means is that as you grow and develop and mature, you no longer have to be in these old dynamics anymore. The holidays and spending time with family, or spending time with coworkers, or spending time with your block party, or spending time with your spouse's friends or your spouse's colleagues or your colleagues. This is empowering because what this means is that you have the power to regulate your nervous system. Yes, as you do those inner child healings and as you do work with your therapist through your deep rooted wounds or triggers and get that stuff sorted, you're going to become more regulated. Your nervous system's going to become more regulated. It's going to become so much better over time. You're going to be able to discern, oh, this situation is the category A, where I'm never doing that again. And this situation is category B, where like, now that I saw the root of what this triggering dynamic is really about, and I actually grieved this person not doing this thing for me, like now I can actually be in that situation and show up in that situation where I feel in touch with my center. I'm no longer seeing everything through the lens of the wounded part of me or through the lens of the complex. Next up, I have another spicy take for you, which is that you are not the only person in your job, holiday party, in your family, in your block party, or in your friend group, in the new batch of friends that you just met that you're not really sure about. You're not the only person to be struggling over the holidays. I think as the empath ethos is in the metaphorical air, the spiritual air, guess what? Everyone in your family is the black sheep, okay? You're not the only black sheep. We think that we are the one in the family. 4 signs you're an oldest daughter because you're so emotionally damaged. It's like, guess what? Every person in your family unit can have a carousel post about their unique trauma and the way that the family system uniquely damaged them. Everyone in the situation is equally dealing with stuff. Now, yes, as a highly sensitive person, you might feel things with more sharpness. As someone who struggles with X, Y, and Z issues that you struggle with, you may have dimensions to your challenges that are different than other people. But we need to get out of the woe is me victim mindset of feeling like I'm the one in the situation that is being, done to, and everyone else is doing to me, when really everyone in the situation has their own stuff. They have their own exact same package deal from their upbringing or their, work past or their friendship trauma or whatever it might be that they're bringing into the situation. Every single person is their fully owned person, and there's all these intricacies to what you are experiencing, and the next person has their own version of that. And so I think that this is a much healthier way to view things, because we then understand, we can't heal alone. We can't transform our experience of this work party by ourselves. We're going to transform it through shifting the dynamic of the group, and just you changing how you're showing up with your own stuff can help do that. And with the recognition that everyone in the room is coming in with their own stuff can help do that. And when you realize that everyone's coming in with their own stuff, you can realize, oh my gosh, this one person, I might be coming in feeling nervous and insecure, but because I am not so in my own saga of feeling like I'm the only one on the face of the planet who has social anxiety, I can now realize that this person seems like they're really anxious and they're being really quiet, or they're stressfully doing all this stuff, and maybe I can go help them with what they're doing, or I can do something to help, whatever it might be, to shift the tone. And just recognize that everyone is having a heightened time over the holidays. It's a heightened time. Even if you're the most extroverted person on the planet who loves this type of situation and feels like it is just another day in the life to have 20 people over to your house, they're still probably feeling a little bit stressed or overwhelmed with all the lead up that they had to do. And did they remember to set all the silverware out and that kind of thing? So getting out of ourselves just a little bit can be really helpful to help see that we're all doing the best we can dealing with things. And through the power of knowing how to regulate your own nervous system, you can have an impact on every interaction that you have. Okay, ending on to two contradicting but important practical notes. As a highly sensitive person, your health and your routines are paramount during stretches where you are pushing out of your capacity. So maintaining good digestion, getting practical, sipping that warm ginger tea throughout the day, making sure you're taking your supplements that really help you, making sure you're taking your trace minerals, making sure you are getting out and getting sunlight, even if it's cold outside. You're getting nature, you're getting space for walks, whatever it is, you're getting the FaceTime with a friend, or you are getting that just moment in the holiday party and you remember to take a breath. Whatever it is that helps you feel a little bit more capacity, the more you can maintain those things in the holidays, throughout the holidays, the better it's going to be. So maybe that means packing, like just paying for the extra bag if you have the resources to do so, and packing your Ziploc bag of supplements or mineral salt or whatever it's going to be, your, ginger tea, just having that. Or when the person you're staying with asks, do you need anything? Just tell them, I need lemons because I drink hot lemon water every morning. Those little rituals that just make you feel like, even if we're out of our normal environment, the animal of our body, there's normalcy to our nervous systems that just helps us feel like safe. Okay, now this is the flip side. This is like the paradoxical side to what I just said, which is like maintain your routines and rituals and self-care practices to the highest extent that you can. On the flip side of that, don't be neurotic about it. If you don't drink warm lemon water for 7 days straight, you're going to be fine. Try your best to also mitigate that kind of neurotic inner dialogue that feels like the world is going to end if you don't exercise 4 times a week, or if you didn't get the sunlight and you forgot your trace minerals and you did end up eating not the best food for 4 days straight. You're going to be okay. This is the power of being resilient and having an adaptable nervous system, and realizing that ultimately your center comes from within. Yes, all these things, especially, the very foundational things like sleep and getting quality foods and drinks and nature and that kind of thing, those things are important for health. But the most important thing, especially in times of transition and times when things are out of our control, is that we remember that we can handle it. We can handle a little bit of stress. Our bodies are designed to be adaptable to stress. Even if it's not ideal circumstances, even if you're eating pizza for 3 nights in a row and then flying on a plane home, you're gonna be okay. This is not going to take you down. It's not going to take you out. And you don't have to be perfect. Releasing being perfect from a health and wellness perspective has been one of the biggest gifts in my life. When I stopped feeling like I had to be this, wellness and spiritual perfectionist, and it's okay to not meditate every day, and it's okay to not drink warm lemon water with salt every single morning. And you will find that you are so much more resilient than you think. So don't be hard on yourself if you cannot maintain all of your routines and rituals perfectly. Do your best to get through it, to get a good night's sleep the next day, to drink your ginger tea when you get home, and move on with your life. And in that space of forgiveness and acceptance, you will probably have the mental capacity to think and be receptive to new ways to better mitigate those same stressors the next go around. Okay. that is all for this episode. Thank you for listening. If you want to listen to the other episode that I have themed around the holidays, I will link it in the description. If you have topics, comment on YouTube, submit them via the link in the description. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next one.